Hi. So this is a very interesting paper, and I'm here for us to discuss this paper and understand it in depth. So this is a paper from a scholar that I do respect, Shirley Gregory, and the paper was published at MISQ 2006, The Taxonomy of Theory in Information Systems. So you know, when I first started my PhD, I actually found it very difficult to understand most things about information science theory. But this paper, the name is actually the nature of theory in information systems, actually shed a lot of light on what is theory. And in as much as I'm still trying to understand and create and apply theories, but this paper is one of the foundational papers that you can use to start your process because creating theories is not an easy thing. So I would love to call this the architect's blueprint for knowledge. And so without further ado, welcome to the architect's blueprint for knowledge. So today we're going to go through this paper and going to slide 2. So to start with, we I need to get my face off here. To start with, we often talk about building information systems discipline, and we have this consensus that we are going to help the field mature. So we constantly call for good theories. Everybody's calling for good theory. MISQ is calling for good theory, and also the development of our own theory. Because if you are in the field, you understand that some of the theories that we use are borrowed from other social sciences. But here lies the problem. While we agree that we need good theories, there's actually very limited discussion on what theory actually means and what form of theory or what forms theories can take. So in IS research, we tend to obsess over epistemological questions, how we construct theories. In the process of this obsession, we often neglect the ontological questions, which is how the theory actually look like and what it is composed of. So how the theory actually looks like and what is composed of. So this leads to a situation where many researchers use the word theory without ever defining it, and this creates confusion, particularly for young doctoral students, novice researchers. So, the author of this paper, Shirley Gregory, notes, despite recognizing the need for theory, we lack shared understanding of the forms of our contribution to knowledge can take. So today we are going to fix that by laying out a clear set of architectural paths of the form of different contributions. So without further ado, let's go to slide 2, no, slide 3. So the foundational material of theories. So before drawing any blueprint, we like let's say you're an architect. Before drawing any blueprint, an architect must understand their raw materials, and this can be concrete, steel, and glass. So in theory construction, our raw materials are causality, explanation because we want to explain, and prediction because we want to predict. First, causality. What is causality? This is the relationship between a cause and a event. So we reason about this in three different ways. When we think about causality, we have three different things that comes to our mind. Number one is regularity. I call this patterns that always repeat itself. So this happens when the same thing happen every time. And like for example, if you drop a glass, it falls, right? You know it falls down. and if you heat water, it boils. So these are like strong rules, rule-based pattern. They are like laws of nature. When X happens, Y always follow regularity. And we also under causality we have pro probabilistic probab probabilistic. So this is actually increases the chance, not a guarantee. So here, a cause doesn't guarantee an outcome. It just makes it more likely. So example, smoking increases the chance of lung cancer. It doesn't guarantee it, but it makes it more likely. Studying more increases your chances of passing an exam. Yes, it might lead to it, but it's a probability. So X doesn't always cause Y, and but Y makes but X makes Y likely to happen. So this is how most human behavior and social work. So the one we have manipulation, doing something on purpose to cause an effect. So example, a manager might introduce a new bonus to increase the company's performance, or government raises interest rates to slow inflation, or you change your diet to lose weight. So this is a manipulation. So yeah. So then let's talk about uh, manipulation. Then the second is explanation. So like I said, these are the foundational materials of theory construction. You know, explanation and explanation is more than just a logical derivation. It is a communicative process intended to induce a subjective state of mind, a subjective state of understanding, and it answers the question how and the why. So, and we have the third, prediction. So for me, I think this is the state that will happen in the future. You're trying to predict the future, and if certain preconditions, you're trying to predict the future with certain preconditions. And prediction allows us to test theories and guide action. So it is important to know that the precision paradox here is it is possible to predict an outcome accurately without having deep explanation of why it happens. So this is also one of the materials of good theory. So slide 4. Oh, so I need to look at it. Let me get my face off. The five blueprint of building knowledge. Yeah. So here, this is by classifying theories based on their primary goal, analysis, explanation, prediction, and prescription. We can identify five distinct blueprint for IS research. So this gives us this blueprint, and like I said, this taxonomy of theory can be built by classifying theories based on their primary goals. So the first is the site plan. This is the theory of analysis, and number two, the the theory of explanation, and number four, the theory of explanation and prediction, and number five, the theory of design and action. So this is actually the meat of this paper. This is the meat of this paper. So we need to like go through it one after the other. So do you know that these are the types of theory, and they can be built by classifying it under this? So going forward, slide 5. And so for this section of the video, we'll analyze each of the theory type using a consistent structure so you can easily compare them. And for each blueprint, we'll cover the name and metaphor. That's the theory type and the theory role. We'll cover the core purpose. That's a single statement defining each primary goal. Then we cover the structural component. There's a checklist showing which elements like construct, relationship, and causal explanation are present or absent in that specific theory. So, a landmark example, a classic piece of IS theory that illustrates the blueprint in action. So these are what we will use to judge each of the theory type we found. We're going to use this blueprint. So for each theory part, we're going to break it down using this blueprint. So I need you to take a look at it and have a mental picture of it. So the blueprint one, like we said, so the first theory we're going to talk about is the theory of analysis. I call this the site plan. So our so for the theory of analysis, its core purpose is to simply say what is. Just as a site plan, just as a site plan surveys the landscape, this theory describes or classifies dimension and characteristics of individuals, group, or event. So it goes further to summarize commonalities, but does not specify causalities or attempt predicting anything. So actually, this is the science of diversity. So it is essential because we must clarify, we must clearly delineate and define phenomenon before we can actually hope to explain or predict them. So structurally, this theory represents uh, means of means of representation, constructs, statement of relationship, and scope. So it doesn't have any causal explanation. It doesn't have any testable proposition. It doesn't have any predictive statement. So a good example of this kind of theory is the theory by Gorey and Scott Martin framework for management information systems, which classifies systems based on decision type, and management activity. So you as an information systems scholar, you really need to understand these things in your fingerprint. So just as the way I'm trying to explain it, I'm also engaging in sense making. So first, you have to know the theory of analysis. So the whole purpose is to describe or classify dimension slash characteristics of individual group or event. So which means it summarizes commonalities and analyzes relationships. So like the main purpose is analysis. And to understand this, what I expect you to do is go and look up this paper, Gloria and Scott Martin, and read through it. So you understand that the structural component might be means of representation, construct, statement, relationship. So you want to understand where does the theory fall in and what is the structural component of the theory. So let's say you want to create a theory and you need to know where do your theory fall in. What kind of theory do you want to create? And that will help you understand what reviewers are looking for and what you're expected to do as an information system scholar. So listening to me alone does not do the magic. You need to go and check out the paper that falls under the landmark example and actually read it and come back to it and say, why is this theory a theory of analysis, and do your own sense making. So here is the narrative rendering, the theory of explanation. So we have this, and its core purpose is to say what is, how, why, when, and where. Just like an architectural rendering, just like an architectural rendering that helps you visualize living space. This theory explains how and why phenomenon occurs, because the idea is explanation. So each primary goal is promoting deep understanding. It often acts as a sensitizing device, helping us view the world through a specific lens. And note that actually that precise, testable prediction is not the main concern here. So you're not trying to create testable prediction, but you're trying to um, the structural components you're looking at it: meaning of representation, construct, statement of relationship, scope, and causal explanation. So like structurally, it includes all these things: construct and relationships. And but oh wait, chill. I think I have something on my foot. But again, you need to understand that it's defining each defining feature is the presence of causal explanation. So it so you need to understand that this kind of theory, the defining feature here is the presence of causal explanation. If we go to the first theory, you can see it doesn't have there's no causal explanation. It has the first four. But now, because this is the theory of explanation, this is theory of explanation. It defines. You can see it has causal explanation. And if you go, if we go down this path, we can see we talked about causality here. So which means that this, like I told you, that these are the ingredients of a good theory. So we are working with these ingredients, and this is the causal explanation the theory defines. So if we go, we can see it has causal explanation, it has scope, it has statement of representation, and if we go back here, it doesn't have all those things. So a good example, a landmark example, is the Olikoski 1992 structurational model of technology, which provides lines of understanding technology as both an outcome on human action and a force that shapes human practice. So I think what I have to do after this is also go through all those defining theories to understand, and we go through it to understand what makes this theory stand out. So that way it can give you a better lens on how to work on these theories, and how to also come up with your own theory. So then blueprint 3, the theory of prediction. Um, so now the theory of prediction, its core purpose is to say what is and what will be. Just like the name, you want to predict. You want to predict what will happen. So this theory predicts outcome based on set of factors. However, the underlying causal connection often remain in a black box. So here, there's no causal connection, but it predicts. So, however, the goal is to have predictive power, not necessarily deep explanation. So you can see there's no causal explanation, but the goal is to predict. So these are often referred to as empirical generalization. So structurally, the key addition here is testable proposition. So this theory doesn't have causal explanation, but it has testable propositions that you can test. However, it explicitly lack development develop causal explanation. Like I said, I'll keep on saying it. So here we see the famous theory is the Moore's law 1965, which predict the number of transistors on integrated circuit will double approximately every 2 years. So this is like a predictive theory. So we have theory of analysis, we have um, theory of explanation, we have theory of prediction. Analysis, explanation, prediction. I've never really had the chance to memorize this. This is actually my first time. Analysis, explanation, prediction. We analyze, we explain, and we predict. Yeah. So, and you see the difference. So, going to slide 9, the detailed schematic theory of explanation and prediction. So this theory combines the last two. It explains and it predicts. Okay. So I think here the core purpose is to be more comprehensive. So it says what is, how, why, when, and what will. So I think this is the most comprehensive theory type. It incorporates both rich causal explanation and testable proposition about the future, and it combines deep understanding with the precision of prediction, representing a mature state of knowledge. And structurally, this blueprint checks for every box. You can see it has means of representation, it has construct, it has uh, statement of relationship, scopes, causal explanation, and testable proposition. So and the good thing, we have a landmark example, the holy grail of information systems theory, the technology acceptance model by Fred Davis. Everybody knows about this paper, and which explains why users adopt technology, perceive usefulness, and perceive ease of use, and predicts future acceptance use. So this is a typical theory that not only have causal explanation, it also has testable propositions, and and I think it has like the the first four. And number 10 is the construction guide, theory of design and action. Wow. Theory of design and action, that is number 10. So finally we have this, and this is one of the interesting theories I like. Its core purpose is unique. So this theory goes to ask question like how to do something. How do we do something? This blueprint provide an explicit prescription like method, techniques, principles of form for constructing an artifact. So this is the heart of design science. So I think this theory is what design science research aims to produce, and it isn't concerned with how things are in the natural world, but it's more like a um, prescriptive knowledge, design of the artificial. So here you are trying to create an artificial world. You're not describing, but you are prescribing. So, and that is the kind of theory you build with your design science research. And a good example is Marcus et al. 2002 design theory for systems that support emergent knowledge process, which specifies meta requirements, and system features. Those are just a landmark example. You can see this theory has all the seven ingredients to it. And number 11. So how the blueprint builds a discipline. Now, it is very crucial to understand that blueprints, these five blueprints are not isolated. So together, they form an integrated system for knowledge creation. So I want you to look at how they all flow, and I hope that I do. I actually explain better. Let me get my fine face off the slide. So analysis and type one is the foundation theory of analysis. So you cannot explain or predict what you haven't defined. So it is very important. And how does type 2 work? Explanation and prediction. So you cannot but so for this type 2 you can feed into one another, explanation type 2 and prediction type 3 can feed into one another. And when they feed into one another, they eventually mature into the comprehensive theory. That's type 4 theory. So that's theory of explanation and prediction. I want to be sure that what I'm saying. Yeah, theory of explanation and prediction. So what I'm trying to say is that type 2 and type 3 can inform and develop into a comprehensive type 4. You get what I mean? And finally, the design and action, that's type 5 type 5 draws on all other types of theory to create artifacts. And once those artifacts are built, they can be studied using explanatory and predictive theories, creating a vicious cycle of knowledge. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Now, if you do design science research, you have to have a kernel theory which you use. And like he says, type 5 draws on all other types of type 5 draws on all other types. So type 5 can draw from predictive. Type 5 can draw from uh, the first one, theory of second one, theory of explanation. It can draw from theory of analysis. So type 5, which is design science theory. And what happens uh, once it draws from this thing, they can once after drawing from those theory and you build the artifact that you want to build, they can be studied. Those artifacts can be studied using explanatory and predictive theories, and you keep on creating a vicious cycle of theories. It just keeps on going on and on and on and on. Like, I don't expect all these things to make sense right now. It only makes sense when you read the papers mentioned, so you can understand what the author is trying to say, and you can differentiate what kind of theories that you need. That way, you can arm yourself with better understanding on how to go about coming up with a theory. So, slide 12. So, the current landscape, the EP theory, and the dominant architecture. So, so which I want to ask, which blueprint are we actually using? So, to text this taxonomy, Gregory classified 50 research articles from top journals like MIS Quarterly and ISR. So the results revealed a striking preference. So as you can see, the EP theory is the so for this slide, the current landscape, we need to understand the current landscape. So I want to repeat myself because I don't think I sounded very clear before. So we want to see the most dominant theories in the field. So Shirley classified 50 research articles from MISQ and other top information systems research from 2003 to 2004, and the results showed a clear preference of one type of theory, and that is type 4 theory. That is the theory that combines the explanation and prediction. And I particularly think that, um, and we can see this is a, I think that this is a huge problem, and this actually highlights a potential imbalance in our discipline. So I think it also forces us to ask ourselves a question: are we actually valuing all necessary forms of knowledge construction equally, or are we only valuing the detailed schematics of things? And you can see that the theory of prediction is very low, the theory of analysis is very low, the theory of explanation is also low, and you can see, so why do we just have the theory for explanation and prediction? I think this overwhelming dominance is, I think, is a huge issue. So, well, um, and if we check, let me even check what is in that slide. I think that is type 4 is this theory. And like yes, like you can see the a good example is the technology acceptance model, which everyone in the field knows and uses. And I see. So going back to slide 13, so building a more robust and diverse discipline. So to build a robust discipline, we need to broaden our architectural approach. First, I think we must recognize all five theories, and we must recognize that all these five theories are valuable. We must resist the tendency to view explanatory and predictive theory as the only scientific valid way to do research. And second, we should aim to build integrated knowledge. Some of the most powerful contributions come from hybrid theories that spans multiple types. And thirdly, we need clarity of purpose. As researchers, we should be explicit about about which blueprint we are using. And I think this actually classifies our contribution and ensures our work is evaluated by the right criteria. So having a clarity of purpose is key. So first of all, before you build any theory, you have to study the work, the body of work around that theory, and see how researchers actually come up with that theory, and see how you can also come up with yours. So finally, this taxonomy gives us a common language. It allows us to discuss our contribution precisely, and this also facilitates the building of sound, cumulative, and practical body of theories. So a lesson for me is I would, since explanatory, predictory types of theory, I have to go down to the drawing board and actually see how these researchers come up with this theory, so I can know. Let's say I want to work on my own theory tomorrow, I can see how I can best come up with my own theory. So I think it is not rocket science. Sometimes you just need to go with what works. And slide 14, and this is the final slide. So let's recap. First of all, we have the site plan, that is type 1. This is this is what it is. It classifies and define, analysis. We have the type 2. Um, it explains and processes and provides insights. We have the type 3, the performance model, says what will be and predict, the predictive one. We have the type 4 that says what and why will be, and it combines type 2 and type 3. We have the type 5, the constructive one, the one we get through design science research, that says how to build. It creates a novel artifact and method. So these are this is the end of the slide, and I hope you are able to understand something. And thank you.